All right, students, if you were gone on Friday or if you just need a little recap of what you should be doing, you should already have your crisis filled out. So, what is the problem of that your organization is trying to solve? If, as you're taking notes, you find extra things to add to this, you can continue to add to that box whenever it works for you. It really is going to become the introduction of your piece once you start writing. So I added some statistics about people who are living without clean water and then also how that problem affects their lives. Then who is serviced is where does your organization do their work and how many people or animals or um, areas are affected positively by the work that they do. And that's what's going to go in this box. Same thing after you're researching, if you find more information, you can always go back and add that. Then, for reasons, you need to pick out 3 things that your organization does to help with the crisis. And I keep changing these as I'm researching. So, right away, I thought that I was going to have that they build wells, that they help with education, and that they maintain the wells for the communities that they serve. As I've been researching today, um, I felt that I was finding a lot from one blog post about how they're doing research to keep making their water solutions better. So I wanted to include that as one of my pieces was the research that they put into the water systems. And then I also changed from just building wells to building water solutions. I made it more general because they do a lot more than wells. They also create springs. They just do whatever. They have dug holes. They just do a lot of different water solutions than just wells. So when I'm on my website, it was helpful. I picked something to start with. And then I started trying to find facts for that particular topic. And I added it to that row when I found it. If I found information that one went in one of the other categories, I could add it to those sections as well. And it really took me to read some of the paragraphs. They don't just hop out at you. There were some big statistics that I got down right away, but I needed more because for each of your 3 reasons, you should have 2 statistics. And I felt like they were just going to pop out at me and be really obvious, and they weren't. I actually had to go and read my research in order to find that. So today I went a little deeper into some of the pages that I hadn't looked at yet. Under our work, there was blogs. So don't forget about those. Those are really great for like firsthand experiences and stories from the field. Both of those gave more like personal experiences. So in this blog, when I clicked on it, it had a bunch of different stories. And then I liked that it said research. So I was like, oh, maybe that'll help me with that section. And I really had to read about this. It talked about the ongoing research that they're doing. It talked about how they're having problems between the landowners where protected springs are and the people trying to use it. And when new owners come in, sometimes there's fights over that. So that was something that I read this whole, it was like 3 or 4 paragraphs, but I had to really read it and think about what that meant in order to take notes on it. And then I read about how there is a lot of E. coli. They use rainwater in a lot of the communities, and there's E. coli in some of the wells, and that leads to sickness and illness. So these statistics kind of popped out at me, but they do this shock chlorination, and in over half of the wells, it created 0 E. coli after they did the treatment. And then in 74%, it reduced. So that was a pretty high percentage to show that it was making a difference. So I added that. When I read that, I was like, okay, I can use that. I need to put in my own words. So I still use the percentage, but then I put it in my own words that shock chlorination has been a big shift in making the water safer. E. coli is a big contributor to waterborne illnesses. And then I said that teams working for the Water Project treated water, and they had a 56% of the boreholes, and dug wells had 0 E. coli. I could have also included that 74% of that particular type had an improvement, but I thought the 0 E. coli was the more impressive stat, so that's the one I wrote down. Then I needed a second statistic. So I was trying to think, what else had I read in here that could give me a statistic? And it talked about how they went to 10 different communities, and they found that half were having disputes over the landowners and the people who were in charge of maintaining the springs. And that can be a statistic. So I am going to write that down. In 10 communities that teams visited, 5 were having some kind of dispute between landowners and those trying to use the well. And then I will go on and finish up this note and explain that the teams helped to create policies so that there was actually like a real plan in place, and sat down and talked to the landowners about making like what their problems were, and created conversations between the landowners and the communities. So I'm going to finish up that note. But that statistic, 5 out of 10, even though that didn't jump out to me as a statistic, I can still use that because that did come from research. I also found, remember, quotes. I was hoping that I was going to find a quote in here from just like a voice of authority. This whole thing is written from people who are part of this organization. So I can quote that it came from her, but I liked that it said that no one in their group seems too daunted by the challenges that they are having with the wells, and that it's great to see our colleagues working together to address these complexities, all in the name of providing better service to users of these rural supply systems. And I think I'm going to use this quote over here for where I talk about maintaining the wells for the communities if they fail, that even when things go wrong, they aren't discouraged by that. And that was, I can put it in a direct quote, and I think that works better than a testimonial. Testimonial will be like someone who's using the well. So I'm going to put it here. I'll put quotes around it. And I found a really good place to find the testimonials too, even better than the blogs, were these stories from the field. And I found these today. And this was like Esther's family. And then it talked about all the things that the well has meant to her. And I think that this would be this is kind of the above and beyond. If you're looking for that A grade and you really want to go further, you can use testimonials. So people's experience. This is like what it's meant to her. I've kept my family healthy. I managed to grow more food than before and helped with our meals at home. This talks about how it's it's a joy now to catch water versus before. So maybe I want to do that. I'm going to take that. It's a quote. I'll need to explain who Esther is, but I could put this down in personal experience. And I had one from a teacher as well I got from today as well. And you don't need these for every paragraph. If I have 1 or 2 in my paper as a whole, that can still make it more advanced. So I'm going to keep going, but notice that I did have to I read the school teacher story, this one, and that whole blog post. So 3 full pages of information to ultimately, I'm not quite done yet. So but I'm well on my way. So you do actually have to read the pages in order to get the information off these sites.